Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Love Lost series with Linda K. Thank you so much for joining us and thank you for watching. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for your commitment to journey with me. If you're stumbling on this video for the first time, please like, share, subscribe to the channel. On this channel, we talk about all things grief because it's something that most people not open to talk to, but it's very much needed in our society and community. So today I want us to talk about something that's really important that affects millions and millions of ladies and women out there, and I find that we don't talk about it enough, and because it's so common, we almost act as though it is easy to get over or to go through. So I want us to journey with the ladies, women who have lost their children before birth. I want us to talk about miscarriages. I want us to talk about miscarriages because it's so rampant, it's so common. Women that go through miscarriage don't even talk about it because the fear of being judged, the fear of what the community is going to think of them, because it's so vulnerable. Imagine your body as a woman. One of the visions that God had for the body is to bring forth life, is to carry a baby for 9 months, to bring forth life. And so if even once or time and time again, you find that you're not able to carry a baby to full term, that is very humiliating. That is very intimidating. That is very vulnerable. That is very hurtful. And society tends to judge. But today I want us to just educate ourselves. And I want to encourage somebody out there. If you're a woman that has suffered miscarriages, it could be one, it could be several. I want you to be able to grieve your miscarriage without the fear of judgment. I want to be the one person in the whole world that tells you, sister, I hear you. Sister, I see you. I've been there. I'm so sorry for your loss. Yes, it was a loss. Yes, you may not have held your baby, and in some cases you do hold the baby, but it was a life. It was a life lost. It was your love lost. In this video, I'm going to journey with you my experience. I've had several, but I'm going to just use one for this video, just to encourage somebody and to let us know that you do grieve when you go through a miscarriage. But because it's different from when a person that has been here is lost and people come around you and leave and everybody knows that you're grieving or that you're mourning. With miscarriage is so different because it's so personal, and sometimes people don't even know. Your community doesn't know. Sometimes the husband doesn't even know. Sometimes the father of the child does not even know what you've gone through. So I'm thinking of the several ways that a miscarriage can happen. A miscarriage can happen 5, 6, 7 weeks into your pregnancy from when you you miss your period or you start getting the symptoms. And for some people, they do go get a test, right off the over-the-counter test, and it's positive, and then you start getting excited, and then all of a sudden, you're going about minding your own business, knowing that you're carrying a baby or that life is being formed inside of you, and all of a sudden you're bleeding, you have cramps, all hope is gone, it's shattered, and then there is a process that you go through. But there's even more dramatic miscarriages where you get through the first 12 weeks. You can even push it till maybe closer to 20, and then your water breaks. That was my experience. Personally, I was not one of those people that were so looking forward to bringing a baby to this world. I knew it will happen when it happens. It will be the right time. Everything will be great. And yeah, in 2012, I got pregnant. I was so happy. I remember the first 12 weeks. It was bliss. I was excited. I wasn't sick. I wasn't, nauseous. All the things I'd read about pregnancy, I did not have those. And I was so thankful. Pushing into the 14 to 16 weeks, I started to not want to eat meat. So that was the only thing. I couldn't go to the grocery store and go to the meat aisle because something about flesh. Meat was just so eerie to me and just so terrifying. And so that was like the only, I can say, in my experience with that pregnancy, was the only thing that was so difficult, because as a woman, I had to still run my home, I had to still cook, but I couldn't eat meat and I couldn't see raw meat. And so I had to just go through that, knowing why I was sacrificing to go through this for my family. And fast forward 20 weeks. So I go, after 8 weeks, you can start seeing a doctor and they make all these, references. You start seeing a gynecologist, and the journey was great. It was going good. After my appointment, my, 19 weeks appointment. So in a couple of days, I was going to be 20 weeks. And the doctor had sent me to do a second ultrasound. She had booked it and said, that is where we know the sex of the baby. Just a couple days before that appointment, my water broke. I mean, my water broke. Like, I was laying in bed, minding my own business, and all of a sudden it felt like I had peed on me. Like, there was water everywhere. I was terrified. I was in bed with my husband, at the time my boyfriend, but I didn't even ask him to take me to the doctor. I was just like, what just happened? It feels like my water just broke. I got up. We looked, the whole bed was a pool of water. And I remember just grabbing my key. I picked up my keys and I drove myself to an emergency room. And I remember getting there and the triage nurse is like, Mom, I'm like, I think I'm pregnant. I'm 20 weeks pregnant. I think my water just broke. And he's like, what? I'm like, yeah, I think my water just broke. And he's trying to get information from me. And I'm like, I was laying in bed and my water just broke. And so I'm sure they triaged me to a higher level to get the ultrasound. And the ultrasound wasn't even 5 minutes. Like, I laid there, the lady, put the thing and put on my stomach, and it wasn't even 6 minutes. It was 6 minutes max. And she was like, and she was done. And you know how these technicians are not going to tell you anything. There was no expression on her face. Nothing. She was just like, okay, the doctor is going to come in to talk to you. And so I'm laying there and the doctor walks in and he tries to get information out of me. And I say, yeah, I have a living boyfriend, who is the father of the child. And he's like, is he here? I'm like, no, because I just ran out of the house and ran to the hospital. And he's probably looking at me like, but anyways, he says to me, yeah, you're correct. Your water broke. Unfortunately, all of your water is out. And I'm just waiting for him to say, okay, they're going to put in, water and sew me, stitch me up. And he says, I'm sorry, your baby, you probably have your baby today, but his lungs are not developed. So even if he lives, he's going to have major disabilities and may have to need care for the rest of his life. And so I'm trying to understand what this guy is telling me. You're telling me, A, I'm going to have a baby today. B, the baby may not survive. If it does survive, it's going to need care for the rest of his life. Like, what just happened? Like, I was just fine, healthy, happy, in bed this morning. I was fully pregnant. I was at 20 months. That's when I was even starting to tell extended family. Like, what are you talking about? And yeah, it hit me hard. And I remember that I lost it. I was screaming. I was kicking. I was all the things that you can imagine. It was like something had just, I was not in shock. As in shock, you're like, I was not in shock. I I was fully understanding what was going on, and I couldn't handle it, and I had all these emotions that were coming out of me, and I broke that unit in two. Like, everyone was like, oh my God, what just happened? Who is that lady? Why is she screaming? And the social worker would try to talk to me, and there was nothing that anyone could say to me that was going to calm me down. They called my husband at home. I didn't call him. Like, I was that hysterical. Actually, they were calling him because they needed somebody to just calm me down. I was not containable. I was losing it. I was screaming. I was kicking. I was hitting the bed, and I was on the top of my lungs at the Foothills Hospital. Yeah. And another doctor came in. I don't think I remember how they were introducing themselves and why it had to be another doctor, but he was telling me, your baby still has a heartbeat, so you definitely are going to have this baby. We can induce it, but there's no water left, and there's no way for me to put water back in your tummy. Your baby is on the ultrasound, he's kicking, and he seems to be in distress, but his heart rate is like, he's just, so overly excited. But that's probably because there's no water. Like, it's dry. There's everything came out. And he doesn't know why this happened. Try to find out what I was doing. I said, no, I'd notified my work way earlier. My work has been modified. I've not been doing any lifting. I've been prepping myself to carry this baby to full term. And yeah. And so, I continue my whole screaming and crying. And a social worker said it was a boy. If I wanted because now it's 20 weeks, right? It's exactly 20 weeks. They're able to tell the sex of the baby. And she's like, do you want to write him letters? Do you want to, social worker, I'm a social worker. We're trying to encourage me. She's trying to give me some hope. She's trying to help me understand what's going on and how I can do to take care of me. But I wasn't having any of that. About 12 hours later, they were thinking that I would probably just go into labor because my water had broke. 12 hours later, I was not in labor. This is to tell you, and my baby was still alive. This is to tell you how strong that baby was, how bad he wanted to be here. But so they moved me postpartum ward, and that's where I was gonna have the baby because it had been 12 hours. His heartbeat was still on, like they could still hear a heartbeat. I had all the monitors connected, and we could still hear him go. And they were waiting for my body to naturally go into labor because my water had broke, and my body did not go into labor. And so 12 hours later, they moved me up to another floor, and they induced me. I had my baby. I had my baby boy. The labor was hard. It was hard on me. It was hard on him. I am forever grateful. Forever grateful. My friends turned sister, Esther and Charlotte, who held one leg. One person was here and another was here, and I was pushing, and they were encouraging me. Even though we knew we weren't taking the baby home, they were there for me. They allowed them to be in the room, and we labored, and they encouraged me. Esther had been a mom. Charlotte, I can't remember now. I think she was pregnant, or I think she had a baby shortly after. But it was quite interesting, and I'll never forget. And I still see myself in that room where I had that baby boy and my two friends, my sisters. And I thank you so much for your love, for your support through that, because it was difficult. It was difficult. It was hard on the baby, and that's when his heart stopped to beat. It was halfway through coming out that we stopped to hear the heartbeat. So, and they just confirmed that he's not gonna be alive when he comes out. So he was like halfway through my canal. Since I was hooked up to the monitors, the nurse said it. And when she said it, it was even more hard for me to push, because what am I pushing till? Like, why I don't know. But that is my miscarriage story. It's so interesting because they let me hold him, not only for that night, they let me hold him even the next day. They'll take him. He wasn't in my room. They'll take him away, and they'll ask me whenever I wanted to see him. They'll bring him. He was still, but he was handsome. He was pretty. He was beautiful. All his body parts had formed. His little belly, you could feel that, like, I still see him. He was clothed. They did dress him up. And yeah, that is my miscarriage. That's the miscarriage story that was so dramatic that I want to share with the world today. And I just want to encourage someone that no matter how your miscarriage comes, whether it's 6 weeks, 5 weeks, further along, whether it's even full term and you lose that baby, do not be ashamed. It is not your fault. Excuse me. Thank you. It is not your fault. It is nothing. It is so, they cannot explain why it happens. And I don't want to make this video about why it happens. In my case, I just have a short cervix. And I've heard people judge, like in my community, people don't even talk about it because everyone's afraid they're going to judge you. They're going to say it's all the abortions that you caused when you were younger or previously. They're going to say you're not woman enough, you can't keep a baby. They're going to say you're a witch and you're eating up your babies. People are going to say all these things, hurtful things. But I don't want you to suffer in your grief and not share your story because you're afraid to be judged. In other communities, people celebrate it. They tell the world, I was pregnant and I lost the baby, and everyone comes and support them as if the person, like, they get through the process because everyone knows. I don't want any woman to die in silence. I don't want any woman to suffer in silence and think that you're alone or that something is wrong with you. It happens. It is so frequent. It's even making us forget how much you can be affected. So that is what happened to me. But this is how I dealt with it. Guess what? First of all, I left the hospital. I think I was in the hospital for 4 days. And when I left the hospital, I bought a plane ticket and flew out to Montreal to be with my sister. I wanted family. Because that's the only place I want. I just wanted to be with family. I just wanted to be somewhere that I couldn't feel or think. And I'll be loved and I won't be judged. And so I did that. But guess what? I did that escape, but there was a constant reminder. My boobs was milking. I was lactating. Like milk, my breasts will full up. And then they'll have to come out. And that was a reminder that I had been a mother, but I didn't bring my son home. So my journey was hard. My body was changing. You know how when a woman just has a baby, how they're looking? Oh my God, I was glowing. My skin was clear. And that was a reminder. When I came back and I was getting ready to go back to work and start my life again, the first thing that came to mind was to put in a contraceptive. I put in a coil. For the first time in my adult life, I thought about it. I said, this is what I need to do and this is what I need to do today. And I went and did it. Because I was so terrified of being pregnant and having to go through that again. In that point of my life, I made a lot of decisions. Now, I know the good. I'm happy I made them, but I made those decisions in my grieving journey. I made the decision to leave Canada. I was like, I am going back to Cameroon. I am done. I cannot take this anymore. I miss my family so much. My life is not going the way I want it to be. I'm done. So, in hindsight, that was me grieving. That was my grief journey. I may have kicked and screamed and cried myself to sleep a couple nights, but even bigger than that, I made some life-changing decisions. while I was grieving, not even knowing I was grieving. For the first time in my adult life, I took a bed control. I went into the hospital and inserted a coil in me because I did not ever want to go through that. I said, you know what? It's not for me. I cannot handle this. I don't ever want to be pregnant and not know that I'm going to bring baby home. I don't want to ever be pregnant, get all excited and have my hopes crushed. It worked for me. And several years down the road, I have since made decisions and I'm thankful to announce that I have a baby boy now, but it took time for me to get there. It took a long time. That miscarriage, that final one that was more dramatic, so further along, traumatized me and put me in a place where I didn't even think that I could go. I'm sharing my story today for the first time to the world because I want you to be encouraged. I don't know what part of your journey you're in. I don't know how many miscarriages you've suffered. I don't know what pain that you're going through. I don't know what judgment that your family, your society, your community is putting on you because you're miscarriaging. But I want to give you hope and I want you to understand what's going on. That every time that you do lose the baby, you're grieving. Be encouraged. If your doctors tell you that it's medically impossible for you to carry a baby, that is, there has been a puncture in your womb, so the baby's always going to drop out, or I don't know what the situation may be. That is different. But if your doctors have not told you that it's medically or scientifically impossible for you to have a baby, let the number of miscarriages not dissuade you. Let the number of miscarriages not discourage you. Keep trying. Keep your hope alive. Be encouraged. Be encouraged. Millions of women are suffering it. None of us are talking about it. And because we're not talking about it, you feel like you're alone. You are not alone. You are not alone. There's millions and millions. Doing this video, there's a lot of friends even people that are so close to me that come to mind that suffered, that suffer miscarriages. But it's not within our control. The God that decided that, your body is going to carry a baby is going to give you that baby when the time's near. There's nothing that you're doing. And like I said, if the doctors are assuring you that they don't know why it keeps happening, just keep trying because they're not God. And give yourself time. Understand that when you do miscarriage, you have to grieve, you have to mourn. It's a process, but then you're going to come out of this and you're going to move on. I made a lot of life-changing decisions. My life was affected, but I kept hope alive. I was dealing with it, not even knowing I was dealing with it. Now, in hindsight, I know that's what was going on. That was just me grieving. But I remember very vividly how I did not ever want to try. I did not ever want to go there ever again until when my body had, when my psychology, all of my system was ready to go there again. Then I did. You may be feeling the same thing. Or you may be one of those people that want to just try the next day, like I'm just going to keep trying. Whatever you decide is okay. I just want you to know that you're not alone. Keep your hope alive. Be encouraged. That is grief. When you're experiencing this and, your emotions, you're losing friends maybe, that you're grieving. And you're grieving because you've loved and you've lost. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. I'm so grateful. Your one way of showing support is to subscribe to the channel. When I see every single subscription, I celebrate it because that's one person that resonates with what I'm trying to do here. And I'm so thankful. Thank you so much and be encouraged, someone. Until our next episode. Bye for now.